everybody, it's Kendra here, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you all the details about this sweater that I made for just over $6. Thanks to everyone who clicked on this video and who is interested in hearing what I have to say about my sweater. And if you are new here, I encourage you to subscribe to see more from me. And if you are returning, you've probably heard me talk about this yarn before. It's a really inexpensive yarn found at Michael's. This is the wool-like yarn made by Loops and Thread. It's a light fingering weight. This is the color Rose, and in this sweater I also use the color Charcoal. Now this yarn typically retails for about $4, and with the, often you can use a coupon code at Michael's, which is why I'm including the lower price in this video. However, for when I went in there, it was on half price, which it does go on half price periodically. So each ball of yarn was $2.24. And I picked up 3 balls of the rose color and 1 ball of the gray. However, I only ended up using 2 balls of the rose and 1 of the gray. I also used recycled buttons on this sweater, and so they're kind of mismatchy, but I really kind of like how it looks, and I didn't have to spend any money to purchase them. I had taken them off of an old sweater that I had, and I do try to do that if I'm getting rid of something and it's kind of past wear, to take a minute and kind of clip off the buttons, because you never know when you can use them again. Now this yarn is synthetic in that it is 85% acrylic and 15% nylon. However, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it is so surprisingly soft, and for me it has worn really well. I don't get that kind of plasticky feel when knitting with it. Now it's not wool and doesn't really behave like wool. However, when you're knitting it up, it doesn't give you the same feel as like the worsted weight Super Saver acrylic. To me, it still feels like a really nice sweater in the end. It feels soft to be wearing, and it's been enjoyable to knit up, and that's really why I've come back to it so many different times. Now as an example, here is a sweater that I knit up around Christmas time. I made a, well, it's more like a, it's t-shirt length on the arms, but it's longer, almost more like a tunic for my 4-year-old. And then I made a little vest to go with it for my son. This one has seen a lot more wear than the little sweater vest because it's been kind of in the regular rotation of clothing. And I'll show it to you here. You can see there's been a bit of pilling, which is not that hard to take care of, to kind of shave it off every now and then. And I have washed this in the washing machine on a regular cycle with all the rest of the clothes. I really have not taken any special care of it, and yet it's held up really well. And like I said, it's been washed on the regular, probably about every 2 weeks, because it has been worn quite a bit. There, you can see the pilling a little more. And previously I did shave off a little bit and it really did perk it up a bit, but it's been washed and worn a few times since then. And it's being worn like a typical preschooler, and yeah, not really treated specially at all. And I consider this to be pretty good wear. Again, it's only been a few months, about 4 or 5 months since I made it. However, yeah, it's impressed me enough to want to keep working with it. I've also made an adult size sweater in this yarn that I gifted to my mom, and it seems to be holding up okay as well. Moving on to the pattern, I used the free pattern called the Polly by Isabel Kramer. This is available on Ravelry, and I do want to give a little disclaimer. It only comes in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large, and I did make the largest size for me here. So if you are looking at my yarn considerations and things and you are larger than a size large, if you're not comfortable making your own modifications, I definitely kind of point you towards some of the free patterns by Tin Can Knits. And they have a really wide range of sizes if you are on either end of the spectrum or want a few more options. That's another way to find a free pattern for a cardigan that might work for you. The Polly uses the fingering weight yarn like I'm using, and it has, as you can see, the purl detail around the yoke here. And it has this stripe down the arms and down the body just below the yoke. The striping is made by 4 rows of your main color and then 2 rows of your contrasting color. And so with this, like I said earlier, I used the 2 balls of the main color and just a fraction of the contrasting color. This was the amount I had left of my contrast color. And in case you missed it earlier, there is 678 yards or 620 meters in one ball of this. And so you can do the math yourself, and it's easy, you'd be easily able to use this pattern with different yarn if you want to kind of step it up a notch in that area or mix it up a little otherwise. Now with this sweater, I did kind of go as inexpensive as possible, and part of that is just because I kind of like the challenge of it. However, it is easy to think about one of these elements and if you're on a budget, to be able to kind of improve in one area. So maybe you're not able to put a lot of money into your yarn choice, but maybe you can change your pattern up next time, and so still maintaining a fairly inexpensive sweater, but putting, you know, a few dollars into purchasing a pattern maybe online, you can really change the look of your knitting. Or maybe next time you want to put, you know, a little bit of money into the buttons or accessories that you're adding to your project. And sometimes just a little bit of attention in one area can really change the look of your finished project. Another tip I have for using budget or low cost yarns on your projects and having them come out looking nice is to think really hard about the pattern that you're using. Now for the sweater I showed you earlier, that was my daughter's, or that is my daughter's, you can tell it has this pretty stitch pattern on it, and that takes in my opinion, takes the kind of more boring yarn and kind of steps it up a notch. Another option, like with the other one, is to include a little bit of color work and be able to incorporate different colors. Again, all very budget-friendly yarns, but just with a combination of how you're using them, use your technique or your skill to kind of step it up a notch. On this sweater I'm wearing now, using just the basic stripe details really changes the look of it, and I think it kind of comes out looking nice in the way that using really, say, highly speckled yarns and putting them in this striping pattern, it might not be the same effect as using these solid colored yarns. Another thought is to use the main color as being your inexpensive or affordable yarn, and then using a nicer yarn as your accent color. So in this project, yeah, we don't have a lot of that contrasting color. However, there's lots of projects out there that kind of has a main color and then uses that accent to kind of showcase the yarn. And so you can, you know, spend your money on one skein of that nicer yarn, or even just to step it up to make it a wool that you can dye to be the color that you want, and use that to incorporate into your project that can really change the look of what you're doing while still keeping you on your budget. Alright, that's all I have for you today. I hope you found this helpful. Please tell us down below if you have any tips for how you keep knitting on a budget, especially if you make a lot of projects and you just, you need a lot of supplies. How do you afford it, and what tips do you have for keeping your costs down? Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to see more from me, and I will see you next time. Bye!